It was raining so hard that night the city felt like it was dissolving. I was halfway through grading essays with a half-drunk cup of coffee when my phone started buzzing. Unknown number. Normally I'd ignore it, but something, maybe boredom, maybe fate, made me pick up. Hello. There was a pause, and then a man's voice, low and uncertain. Lena, it's me. I froze. I hadn't heard that voice in 16 years. My ex, Jonas Reed, the man who'd shattered my life like a dropped mirror and left without a word. What do you want? I said flatly. He took a breath. I need your help. It's serious. I laughed. I doubt that. It's not for me. His voice cracked then, just slightly. It's for my son. He's dying. That pulled the laughter right out of me. For a moment, the sound of rain drowned everything else. I'm sorry, I said, finally. But I can't help you. You don't even know what I'm asking. I don't care. Lena, please, he said, his voice trembling now. He needs a liver transplant. You're the only match we've found. My stomach turned to stone. How would you possibly know that? I checked, he said. You were a blood donor once, remember? I had a copy of the records. You had no right. I'm begging you, he whispered. Please. His name's Eli. He's 10. He has your eyes. I hung up. For a few seconds, I sat there staring at the wall, heart pounding. The rain outside had softened to a steady murmur, like the city itself was eavesdropping. Jonas. The man who'd lied to me, cheated on me, and disappeared without goodbye, calling me now to ask for a piece of my body. It felt like a bad dream I couldn't quite wake from. I poured the rest of my cold coffee down the sink and told myself it was over. It wasn't. An hour later, someone knocked at my door. I opened it, and my younger sister, Freya, was standing there. So was Jonas. What the hell is this? I said. Freya looked guilty, her hair soaked from the rain. Please, Lena, just hear him out. I stepped aside slowly, arms crossed. Jonas walked in first, looking older, hollow eyes, rough stubble, a limp I didn't remember. Freya sat on my couch and started talking fast. Lena, the hospital said the match is real. Eli doesn't have much time. They're desperate. You're helping him? I asked her. He came to me first. I thought you'd at least want to know. Jonas stepped closer. I know I have no right to ask you anything after what happened. But I'm asking anyway. He's my son, Lena. Please. Your son, I repeated. Right. Freya tried to hand me a folder of medical reports. I didn't even look. Get out, I said. Lena. Out. Jonas looked like he wanted to say more, but my tone must have scared him. He nodded slowly and walked to the door. Freya hesitated, eyes glassy with tears. You're not a bad person, she whispered. But if you do nothing, you'll never forgive yourself. After they left, I locked the door and sank to the floor. Outside, thunder rolled through the sky like a warning. The next morning, it started the messages, the phone calls, the public humiliation. Someone had leaked a story online. Local teacher refuses to save dying child despite being perfect donor. My photo. My name. My school. By noon, the principal called me into his office, his tone tight and careful. Lena, is there something you want to tell me? I didn't answer. The article was open on his monitor. My students had seen it. My colleagues had seen it. Half the city probably had. And at the bottom of the post, a photo. Jonas standing beside a pale boy in a hospital gown. The caption read, "This is Eli. His only hope won't answer her phone." My hand shook. The betrayal burned worse than the rain ever could. Freya had to be involved. No one else had that photo. That night, I drove to her apartment in the storm and pounded on the door. She opened it, startled. Tell me the truth, I said. Why are you doing this? Why him? Why now? Freya looked at me, and for the first time, she didn't look sorry. Because you deserve to know, she said softly. Eli isn't just Jonas's son. Her next words shattered everything. He's yours too. For a few seconds, I didn't move. I just stood there in the doorway, the rain pounding against my back, while Freya's words carved through me like glass. He's mine, I finally said, barely hearing my own voice. Freya looked away. Jonas told me everything last night. He said you were pregnant when he left. That's impossible, I snapped. I would have known. Her eyes filled with tears. You didn't. He said you miscarried, remember? That's what he told you. The room tilted. I remembered that night, the pain, the hospital, Jonas crying at my bedside. The doctor's voice saying you lost the baby. I hadn't questioned it. Why would I? Freya continued quietly. He lied. The doctor was his cousin. He wanted to keep you out of the picture. He said you were unstable, that you didn't want the baby. I grabbed the back of a chair just to stay upright. So what, you're saying he stole my child? Her silence was all the answer I needed. The air felt heavy, like it was hard to breathe. And you helped him. You came to my house, defended him, humiliated me online. I didn't post that article, Freya said quickly. That was Jonas. But I didn't stop him either. I thought, if you knew the truth, you'd agree to help. I pressed my palms to my face, trying to hold myself together. I'd spent years building walls, carefully repairing what Jonas had broken. And now, with a few sentences, she'd smashed everything again. I lowered my hands and looked straight at her. Where is he? At St. Aurora's, she said. Children's ward. Room 214. I walked out without another word. The drive across the city felt endless. The rain hadn't stopped, it drummed on the windshield like an angry heartbeat. My mind raced the entire way, flashes of Jonas, of our apartment back then, of his promises. I remembered him holding me the night I thought I'd lost our baby. I remembered the way he said it's better this way. And now, 16 years later, that same man wanted a piece of my body to save the child he'd stolen. When I finally parked outside the hospital, I sat for a long minute staring at the glowing letters above the entrance. St. Aurora's Medical Center. The rain blurred everything, even the light. Inside, the air smelled of antiseptic and coffee. I followed the signs to pediatrics. Room 214. Through the glass window, I saw him, a small boy sitting up in bed, pale as paper, dark curls sticking to his forehead. He was drawing something with a blue crayon. Jonas sat beside him, reading a book aloud. The boy laughed, a small, tired laugh that sounded so familiar it made my throat close. It was my laugh. I stepped back before they saw me and pressed a hand against the cold wall. My heart was thundering. Every instinct screamed that this was real, that Freya wasn't lying. Ma'am, a nurse asked gently. Are you all right? I nodded without looking at her. I just need to speak to Dr. Howell. I think she's handling Eli Reed's case. Dr. Howell was calm, kind-eyed, and far too observant. You said your name was Lena Ward? Yes, I said. And I think I may be biologically connected to your patient. That got her attention fast. She sat forward, concern flickering across her face. Jonas Reed is the legal father on record. Are you saying otherwise? I hesitated. The truth felt too big for words. I was told that Eli might be my son. I need a DNA test to confirm it. She didn't react, at least not outwardly. I can arrange that discreetly, she said. But it'll have to be authorized by the guardian, which means Mr. Reed. I swallowed hard. Then tell him I'm ready to talk. That night, Jonas called me. Lena, he said softly, you went to the hospital. Cut the small talk, I said. You lied to me. You told me I lost that baby. Silence. Then, I had to. You would have left, and You did leave. I shouted. You disappeared. He sighed. You don't understand. You were not in a good place then. I thought it was best. For who? For you. He didn't answer. Finally, I said, I'm getting the DNA test. If he's mine, I'll decide what happens next. Lena. Don't call me again until the truth has a name. I hung up and stared at my reflection in the window, the rain blurring my face into something unfamiliar. For the first time in 16 years, I realized the storm outside wasn't the dangerous one. It was the one inside me. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying every word of that call until dawn spilled across my kitchen table, turning the coffee stains into small brown bruises. By 8, I was standing in the sterile hallway of St. Aurora's, a clipboard in my hands, and the faint hum of machines whispering through the walls. Dr. Howell had been true to her word. She'd arranged the DNA test quietly. No press, no drama. I signed the forms with shaking hands. When the nurse took the swab from my cheek, I thought about how strange it was to have my entire life depend on something invisible. A few cells, a few strands of truth. Jonas was in the hallway when I came out. His face looked like stone. "I didn't expect you to actually come," he said. "I didn't come for you." He nodded, staring at the floor. "I know." We stood in silence for a moment. I could feel the weight of all the years between us pressing down, every word we never said, every apology that came too late. "I want the results sent to me directly," I told him. "They'll go to both of us," he said. "Legally, that's how it works." I turned to walk away, but he stopped me. "Lena." I didn't look back. He sighed. "He's a good kid. Smart. Kind. You'd like him." My throat tightened. Don't what? "Don't act like you're doing me a favor by introducing me to the son you stole." That shut him up. I left before the sound of my heartbeat drowned me completely. 2 days later, I was back in my apartment, pretending to read when my phone rang. The hospital number glowed on the screen. "Ms. Ward," a nurse said softly. "The results are in. Dr. Howell asked me to let you know she'll see you this afternoon if you'd like to come in." My voice caught. "Yes, I'll be there." The drive to the hospital felt longer this time, even though the rain had stopped. The city was clearer now, sharper, like it was holding its breath. When I walked into Dr. Howell's office, Jonas was already there. He stood when I entered, but I ignored him. Dr. Howell's expression was neutral. "We ran 2 tests to confirm accuracy," she began. Both came back the same. Her eyes met mine. "Ms. Ward, genetically, you are Eli Reed's biological mother." The words didn't sound real. They just hung there in the air, suspended between syllables and disbelief. Jonas exhaled slowly, rubbing his face with both hands. I didn't cry. Not yet. I just whispered, "He's mine." Dr. Howell nodded. "Yes." For a long time, no one spoke. The silence felt thick, like standing underwater. Finally, I said, "I want to see him." Jonas looked up sharply. Now. Eli's room was quieter this time. The TV was off, the blinds half open. He was drawing again, the same blue crayon, only now he was sketching a bird. He looked up when I walked in. "Hi," he said, smiling politely. "Hi," I managed to whisper back. Jonas hovered by the door, arms folded. I walked closer, keeping my steps slow like I was approaching a dream that might vanish if I startled it. "What are you drawing?" I asked. "A heron," he said. "They fly over the lake near our house. My dad says they're lucky." I smiled faintly. "He's right." Eli tilted his head. "You talk like my dad." Something inside me cracked. "Do I?" "Yeah," he said, then lowered his voice. "You sound sad too." I swallowed hard. "I've had a hard day." He smiled again, the same crooked grin I used to see in the mirror before life dulled it. It hit me all at once, 16 years of silence collapsing into one heartbeat. I wanted to reach out, to touch his hair, to tell him everything. But I didn't. Not yet. He didn't know who I was. Jonas cleared his throat. "Eli, why don't you rest for a bit?" The boy nodded, putting down his crayon. "Bye, Miss Lena." I blinked. "How do you know my name?" "Dad told me," he said, yawning. "He said you used to be his best friend." Best friend. The lie burned more than the truth ever could. As we left the room, I turned to Jonas. "You're going to tell him," I said. "Everything. About me, about what you did." He shook his head. "Not now. He's sick." "I don't care. He deserves to know who his mother is." He looked exhausted. "Lena, please. Don't make this harder than it already is." I stepped closer, eyes sharp. "I'm not the one who made it hard. You did, 16 years ago." When I left the hospital, I didn't feel relief or victory. I just felt hollow, like I'd dug up a grave and found myself inside. The city had gone quiet after the storm, but inside me, the thunder never stopped. For 2 days, I wandered through my apartment like a ghost, unable to eat, unable to think of anything except that small boy's face, my son's face. Everywhere I looked, there he was. In the reflection of my coffee mug. In the laughter of children passing outside my window. Even in the mirror, where I suddenly recognized his crooked smile as mine. I thought learning the truth would free me. Instead, it trapped me in a new kind of cage. On the third morning, I woke to the sound of my phone vibrating nonstop. Unknown numbers. Dozens of them. Then Freya's name lit up the screen. I answered on the fifth ring. What do you want? Her voice was small. You need to see this. What now? Online. Look up hashtag Let Lena Save Eli. I didn't want to, but I did. There it was, my face again, this time plastered across social media. Posts, videos, a GoFundMe page titled Help Eli Get the Mother He Deserves. Thousands of shares. Thousands of comments. She's selfish. She abandoned her own child. She's a monster. Someone had posted a picture of me leaving the hospital. My hair was wet from rain, my expression blank, and the caption said, "She walked right past her dying son." I dropped the phone. Freya's voice came through the speaker, trembling. Jonas says he didn't make it, but I don't believe him. Why would you? I muttered. Lying's the only thing he's good at. Lena, she whispered, people are showing up outside the hospital now. Protesters. Reporters. They're calling you heartless. I sank into the couch, staring at the ceiling. Good. Let them. But it wasn't good. By afternoon, 2 journalists were outside my apartment building. By evening, my boss called, gentle but firm. Lena, he said, until this blows over, we think it's best if you take some leave. Blows over. I repeated, choking out a laugh. You think this is a weather report? I'm sorry, he said. It's about the kids. Parents are concerned. That night, I sat alone in the dark, scrolling through my phone until my thumb ached. Every comment, every cruel word was another cut. But one message stood out, buried in the chaos. It was from an anonymous account. He doesn't know who you are yet. Don't let him die without knowing. It was followed by a single photo, Eli, smiling weakly from his hospital bed, holding a stuffed fox. I don't know why, but that broke me more than anything else. The next morning, I drove to the hospital again. I didn't text Jonas. I didn't call Freya. Dr. Howell met me in the hallway, her expression cautious, but kind. You shouldn't be here right now, she said softly. The media's camped outside. I don't care. She studied me for a moment, then nodded toward Eli's room. He's awake. But please, keep it gentle. When I stepped inside, the air smelled of antiseptic and crayons. Eli looked up from his drawing and grinned. Hi, Miss Lena, he said brightly. I managed to smile. Hi, artist. He pointed at the paper. It's a fox. Like my toy. Want to help color it? I sat beside him, and we filled in the page together, orange for the body, gray for the paws. Every stroke felt like a confession I couldn't speak aloud. He talked as he drew. About cartoons, about the hospital food, about wanting to go home. He didn't sound scared. Just tired. At one point, he looked at me and said, Dad said I have a hero out there who can save me. Do you think heroes always say yes? My hand froze on the paper. Sometimes they say no first, I whispered. Why? Because they're scared. He thought for a moment, then smiled. Then I hope mine's brave soon. That was it. The moment everything inside me broke open. I excused myself, hurried to the hallway, and leaned against the wall, shaking. Dr. Howell appeared. You okay? No, I whispered. I want the evaluation. The transplant tests. All of it. Her eyes softened. Are you sure? I'm his mother, I said. And I've done nothing but run. I'm done running. By the time I left the hospital that night, the rain had started again, soft this time, almost forgiving. I stood there for a long time, letting it soak through my hair and my coat. For 16 years, I'd buried the truth under silence and anger. But some things refused to stay dead. My name was already out there. My shame was public. But now I had a reason to face it. Not for Jonas. Not for redemption. For Eli. My son. Hospitals have their own kind of silence. It's not peace, it's pressure. The kind that hums beneath fluorescent lights and steady heart monitors, the sound of people holding their breath between hope and loss. That's where I found myself the next morning, signing papers that might rewrite my life. Dr. Howell explained each page carefully. Blood work. Imaging. Psychological screening. If you're still approved, The ethics board will review your case before scheduling surgery. I nodded, signing every line with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. Each signature felt like another heartbeat for Eli. Jonas wasn't there. Thank God. Freya, however, was waiting outside the lab when I walked out. She looked smaller than I remembered, tired, like she hadn't slept in days. Lena, she started. Don't. I need to explain. You need to disappear, I said quietly. You helped him lie. You helped the world turn me into a villain. She swallowed hard. I thought I was protecting him. He said you'd hate him if you knew. I laughed, sharp and humorless. He was right about one thing. Her eyes filled with tears. I'm sorry. I really am. But if you save Eli, please, don't do it for him. Do it for the boy. I'm not doing it for anyone but him, I said and walked away. That night, I sat in my apartment surrounded by hospital brochures and test results. Words blurred together: anesthesia risk, recovery time, infection, hemorrhage. I read them all until my eyes burned. Part of me wanted to run again. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw Eli's face, the way he'd said, I hope mine's brave soon. The truth was simple. I was terrified. Not of the surgery. Not of dying. Of what came after. Because once I did this, once I gave him a part of myself, I couldn't go back to being nobody. I'd be his mother again, a stranger claiming a title she'd lost before she ever earned it. I didn't sleep that night. I sat awake until dawn, watching the city lights fade behind a curtain of rain. 3 days later, I met Jonas in a cafe near the hospital. He'd been texting nonstop, begging to talk things through. I finally gave in, if only to stop the noise. He was already there when I arrived, nursing a black coffee. His hair was messy, his eyes bloodshot. You look awful, I said. He gave a humorless laugh. I deserve worse. Finally, something we agree on. He rubbed his temples. Lena, I know you hate me. You should. But I need you to understand I didn't do this out of cruelty. Then what would you call it? Fear, he said softly. You were falling apart after your mother died. You talked about leaving the city, disappearing. I thought if you knew about the pregnancy you'd... I slammed my hand on the table. You thought. You decided for me. You took everything, my child, my choice, my life, and built a lie out of it. People at nearby tables turned to look, but I didn't care. He whispered, I loved you. No, I said, standing. You loved owning me. There's a difference. I turned to leave, but his next words froze me mid-step. He calls you the brave lady. He knows someone's out there trying to save him. For a moment, my anger cracked under the weight of something heavier. He doesn't even know it's me. Jonas's eyes softened. Maybe he doesn't need to, not yet. I walked out before I could cry in front of him. The next week blurred into tests, scans, evaluations, and questions that dug deeper than needles ever could. One therapist asked, Are you sure this decision isn't driven by guilt? Yes, I said. It's driven by truth. Another asked, What if he doesn't forgive you? I smiled faintly. Forgiveness isn't the point. Living is. When it was over, Dr. Howell met me in the hallway. Everything looks good medically. But the ethics board has to approve it. They meet Monday. What if they say no? She hesitated. Then we wait for another donor. But time isn't on Eli's side. That night, Jonas texted me a photo, Eli in his hospital bed, holding the drawing of the fox we'd colored together. Beneath it, he'd written in messy letters. For Miss Lena, the brave lady. For the first time in years, I cried until morning. Not out of anger. Not out of fear. But because for the first time, bravery finally had a name, and it was mine. Hospitals smell different on Mondays, like new beginnings and quiet dread. By the time I reached St. Aurora's, the sky was a dull gray, the kind of color that feels like it's waiting to break. Dr. Howell met me outside the boardroom. Are you ready? She asked. I've been ready for 16 years, I said. She smiled gently. That's what I was afraid of. Inside, 6 people sat around a long glass table, the hospital's ethics board. A lawyer, 2 doctors, a psychologist, a social worker, and a priest. It felt less like a medical meeting and more like a trial. Dr. Howell introduced me, and the questions began. Ms. Ward, said the lawyer, you're aware of the risks involved? Yes. And that your consent cannot be coerced by guilt or public pressure? I'm aware. Then why do you want to proceed? I took a slow breath. Because my son deserves a life that wasn't stolen from him the way mine was. If I can give that to him, even a fraction of it, then I will. The psychologist leaned forward. You realize, of course, that you have no legal claim to him after this. Jonas Reed remains his guardian. I'm not doing this to get him back, I said quietly. I'm doing it to make sure he gets to have a future. The priest spoke next, voice soft. Do you forgive the man who wronged you? I hesitated, then shook my head. No. Forgiveness isn't a requirement for compassion. Dr. Howell hid a small smile at that. When the questioning ended, they asked me to wait outside. I sat in the corridor, staring at the tiled floor, counting the seconds. A nurse passed by and gave me a sympathetic nod. The air was thick with antiseptic and anxiety. After what felt like hours, Dr. Howell emerged with a folder in hand. They approved it, she said. Surgery's set for Friday morning. I nodded, numb. You'll be admitted Thursday evening for pre-op. Try to rest until then. Rest. The word felt foreign. That night, I walked by the lake near my apartment, the same place Jonas and I used to come when we were young, when the world still felt kind. The moon rippled on the water, silver and soft. I whispered into the wind, "You'll be okay, Eli." You have to be. A voice broke the quiet behind me. You always talk to the water when you're scared. Jonas. He stood a few feet away, hands buried in his coat pockets. He looked worn down, like the years had finally caught up to him. How did you find me? I asked. Freya told me. Of course she did. He took a slow step closer. They approved it, didn't they? Yes. He nodded, eyes glassy. I don't deserve what you're doing. You don't. He looked down. When you're in surgery, I'll be with him the whole time. He'll know someone brave is fighting for him. Good, I said. Because I don't want him thinking it's you. He winced, but didn't argue. After this, what happens between us? Nothing, I said simply. You'll raise him. I'll recover. And maybe someday, when he's old enough, I'll tell him the truth, not to take him away from you, but to give him back what you stole. Jonas's voice cracked. He deserves to know the kind of woman his mother is. I met his eyes. He will. He nodded once, then turned to leave. I called after him, Jonas. He stopped. Whatever happens on that table, I said, don't make this about your redemption. You already got your second chance the day he was born. This one's mine. Thursday came too quickly. The pre-op room was cold, the lights too bright. Nurses moved quietly, adjusting IVs and monitors. Freya came, pale and red-eyed. They're prepping Eli, she said softly. He drew you something. She handed me a folded piece of paper. Inside was a child's crayon sketch, 2 foxes, one big and one small, standing under a gray cloud. Above them, in messy letters, "We're both brave now." Tears blurred the drawing. I pressed it to my chest. Freya whispered, "You don't have to forgive me. But please, come back." I managed a weak smile. I planned to. When the nurse came to wheel me out, I took one last look at the paper before handing it to Freya. Keep it safe for him, I said. As the doors closed behind me, the world dimmed into the rhythm of my heartbeat, steady, fragile, human. The silence before the cut. I don't remember the moment they put me under. Just the sound of the machines, soft, steady, rhythmic, like the heartbeat of the rain outside the window. The anesthesia crept through my veins like fog, and the world blurred. The last thing I heard before the darkness took me was Dr. Howell's calm voice saying, "We're ready." Then nothing. When I opened my eyes again, everything hurt, my ribs, my throat, even my heartbeat. The room was dim. Machines hummed softly beside me, glowing in the half-light. "Hey," a gentle voice said. "Welcome back." It was Dr. Howell. She smiled when she saw me awake. "The surgery went well," she said. "Both of you are stable. Both of you." Eli. Tears slipped down my cheeks before I could even speak. "He's alive." She nodded. "Strong heart, steady vitals. He's still in post-op, but he's responding." I turned my face toward the window. The rain had stopped. For the first time in weeks, the city was still. "How long was I out?" I whispered. "About 18 hours, she said. You scared us a little, but you're tough. You'll recover. I smiled weakly. I've been through worse storms. 2 days later, I was able to walk, slowly, painfully, down the hall toward Eli's room. Dr. Howell warned me to keep the visit short. I didn't care. When I entered, the sunlight poured through the window like something holy. Eli was propped up in bed, his cheeks less pale, his eyes brighter. He saw me and smiled. Miss Lena. I bit my lip to keep from crying. Hey, kiddo. He held up the fox drawing we'd made together, now taped beside his bed. Dad said you're the reason I feel better. My breath caught. He said that. Yeah. He said you gave me something really special. Like magic. I smiled, sitting carefully in the chair beside him. Maybe a little bit of magic, I said softly. He frowned thoughtfully. When I grow up, I'm gonna find a way to give it back. That was the moment the tears finally came. He tilted his head. Are you crying? I nodded. Happy tears. He reached out, tiny fingers brushing mine. Then I'm happy too. Jonas came in a few minutes later. He stood quietly in the doorway, unsure if he was allowed in. Eli grinned. Dad, look. Miss Lena's here. Jonas smiled faintly. I see that. Our eyes met, and for once, there was no anger left, just exhaustion and something close to peace. I'll give you 2 minutes, he said softly, but I shook my head. No, I said. Stay. He deserves to have both of us here. We sat there together, the three of us, in a silence that felt fragile but real. Eli hummed to himself, doodling on a scrap of paper, unaware of the history sitting inches away from him. For the first time in 16 years, I didn't feel like running. A week later, I was discharged. The hospital lobby buzzed with reporters again, but Dr. Howell had arranged a quiet exit through the side entrance. Freya was waiting by the curb with my bag. She looked terrified I wouldn't speak to her. Hey, I said quietly. Hey, she echoed. You look alive. I smirked. I plan to stay that way. She hesitated, then handed me a small envelope. He wanted you to have this. I opened it. Inside was a photograph, Eli smiling in his hospital bed, holding the stuffed fox. On the back, written in shaky handwriting. Thank you, brave lady. Love, Eli. My hands trembled as I folded the photo close to my heart. Freya, I said softly, tell Jonas. He can stop running too. She nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. And you? I'm done hiding. That night, I stood by the lake again. The water was still, the air clear. In my reflection, I didn't see the woman who'd been broken by love and loss. I saw someone rebuilt by both. I whispered into the wind, be brave, Eli. Always. The moon shimmered across the lake, and for the first time, it didn't look lonely. Weeks later, a small envelope arrived in my mailbox, no return address. Inside was a child's drawing of 2 foxes, side by side, standing under a sun this time instead of a cloud. At the bottom, written in the same clumsy handwriting. We're both brave now. And we're not alone anymore. I pressed the drawing against my chest and smiled through tears. Because after all the storms, the surgeries, the lies, there was still something left standing. Something pure. Something fierce. Something that felt like hope.